Jonathan, talk to us about how successful this week's Instagram freeze actually was. It seemed to get less attention than, for example, Blackout Tuesday. What was your take?
Well, look, this action that happened over the past week, the Insta freeze, was the second initiative of the Stop Hate for Profit Coalition, where some of the leading civil rights groups in the country, ADL, NAACP, and others. And what was amazing was a call to action to call out Facebook's failure to deal with hate and violence and disinformation on the platform. What we started engaging ordinary citizens was just energized and propelled by some of the most prominent influencers on the internet. You mentioned Kim Kardashian, Katy Perry, Sacha Baron Cohen played a pivotal role. And when you ask about was it successful, literally, Emily, we had over exposure and reach to over 1 billion people on something that we pulled together in just 2 days. It was quite remarkable to see people like Robert Downey Jr. and Shawn Mendes, Ed Helms, Amy Schumer, Katy Perry, so many more say enough is enough. We need Facebook to do more to deal with, again, the rampant anti-Semitism, racism, and misinformation so prevalent on the platform.
Now, on one hand, you've got Lego, for example, extending its ban on Facebook ads. On the other hand, Facebook has said that advertisers are coming back after the boycott. Do you think Facebook is really getting the point?
Well, it's a great question. As you referenced, or to your allusion, yes, when we started this effort over the summer, we pulled together over 1,200 of the biggest brands in the world, Disney, Coca-Cola, Starbucks, McDonald's, to say Facebook needs to stop and finally invest in dealing with the intolerance that's so pervasive across its products. And it's true, at $70 billion with 8 million customers, they're not susceptible to revenue pressure like many businesses. But I must say, civil rights groups, child advocacy organizations, corporate advertisers, now A-list celebrities, ordinary citizens, hey, I think more and more the case is undeniable. Across all segments of society, people are demanding that Facebook finally fix their product. I mean, think about this for just a minute. We saw militia groups organizing out in the open on Facebook, and that led to the death of people in these protests this past summer. Can you think of another company, if they had a product that was performing this poorly, that wasn't just hurting but killing its users, that they wouldn't take it off the shelf and fix it? All we're asking for is for Facebook to finally behave like every other business in every other industry and fix their problems once and for all.
Now, Facebook and Instagram are obviously huge social media companies. They're not necessarily the only companies that have a problem with misinformation. There's Twitter, there's TikTok. There's been rampant misinformation about the fires that are continuing to burn across the Northwest. I noticed a very compelling TikTok video with a firefighter debunking a young girl who's claiming that these fires are fake. What about the broader problem? I'm sure Facebook would say it's not just a Facebook problem.
No, that is a great point, and it's a fair one. The issue of misinformation on social media is not unique to Facebook. And at ADL, through our center in Silicon Valley, we're working with not just Facebook, but Google and Twitter and Reddit and TikTok and Twitch and YouTube and so many of the platforms. But here's what you need to keep in mind. What's really important. Facebook is far and away the largest social media service in the world, with more than 3.2 billion users across their products. And at ADL, we track hate and harassment, not just offline, but online. And the data tells us that users are more frequently harassed on Facebook than any other service. So we would say to you, I would say to you, Facebook has an obligation to be using their capability for innovation to try to address this issue once and for all. And for what it's worth, we've seen Twitter take important steps, YouTube as well, but Facebook has got to do more to finally stop hate for profit.
Now, Kevin Systrom, the founder and former CEO of Instagram, is reportedly being courted to be the CEO of this new TikTok entity. What do you make of that kind of obviously he's accomplished so much. A critic might say, or just sort of recycling the same leadership that has helped create some of these problems.
Well, I mean, TikTok's an interesting case study. It's a complicated situation because of the relationship with China and what it means vis-a-vis to have a foreign company owning the data of U.S. citizens. We've worked a lot with Instagram. We're very familiar with it. The challenge is how you can find the right management and the right governance structure in an environment where our federal government has made some pretty strong claims about what they want to see vis-a-vis TikTok. I'll be honest, we have found TikTok, unlike in some other companies, to be pretty amenable to this. ADL has worked directly with TikTok to deal with sort of white supremacist propaganda on the platform. They've been more responsive than some others, and that is something I actually admire.
So what is next for the Stop Hate campaign? What do you want to achieve? Like, what will be success?
Well, success would be to stop the spread of stereotypes and slander on social media, to deal with the systemic racism, the abundant anti-Semitism. It's got to be addressed once and for all. We're working right now and focusing on Facebook because of its size and the extent of the problems there. But for me, and I think for my other members of the coalition, success would be engaging constructively with Facebook and then actually making public commitments and progress on the problem. We've heard from Facebook the claim that, 89% of the hate content on our platform is neutralized before it shows up. But could you imagine the Ford Motor Company saying, 89% of our seatbelts work, so we're okay? Or could you imagine Starbucks saying 89% of our drinks don't poison our customers, so we're okay? Success for Stop Hate for Profit is engaging constructively with Facebook so they show a kind of accountability and transparency we just haven't seen to date. So what comes next? We've worked with corporate advertisers.
Do you have more
celebrities.
Boycotts? Do you have more freezes planned?
I can tell you this. We are now thinking about the next action. There are other constituencies that want to engage. Again, I think we can move from corporate advertisers to Hollywood celebrities, and there are more segments of society we will engage. This wasn't a one-shot deal, Emily. This is just the second salvo in an ongoing campaign to push Facebook once and for all to stop hate for profit.